Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, as the real estate market is moving to a more balanced market from a red hot seller's market, what are some of the things that a home seller can do to make their home seem on trend and more attractive to home buyers?
Well, Richard, it's really interesting that updating a home does matter over time, and it's it's expensive and it's hard for home sellers to keep up with it. Do we have to remodel the whole house? Do we have to paint the whole house? So there's some things I wouldn't really chase. I've been doing this 29 years now. And I will tell you that I've seen all kinds of trends. When I first started, the mauve or pink color with green was really on trend. They would do a whole model that color and heavy wallpaper and just, and then they went to a more, beige with the stain trim and then the white trim, then the dark trim came in style. And then it changes all the time. More recently, we had the gray. Gray was like this big trend that kind of caught on. It looked kind of modern but it's very cold. It's not very warm if you don't do it right. And so now one of the more popular colors is something more of a grayish color where they blend kind of a taupe and a gray to warm it up just a little bit. Now, I'm not an interior designer, but typically I can see if the home looks dated, and the buyers can tell if it's dated too. I'm not saying that every home should be completely remodeled because that's not necessarily a good strategy for everyone if they're selling. You don't necessarily have to do it. The key is to be neutral. And the fact is, buyers are are basically eliminating homes online. They're deciding if they're going to spend their time driving around, leave their fuzzy bunny slippers to check your home on or off the list based on what they see online. And according to studies, it's less than 57 seconds is all you have as a home seller to make an impression. Um, and we don't know who's eliminating what homes. We really don't have any idea. And there's different styles for different people. I had a broker that used to say there's a puppy for every doghouse, which I thought was really cute. We like bloodhounds. That's our favorite breed. And they're not beautiful dogs, but I think they're beautiful. So anyway, neutral is always better. So we've seen gray come and go. We've seen the white kitchens come and go, and the white is still pretty popular. Even the grays are still pretty popular. For me, though, I just don't like a white kitchen because it's not practical. There'll be prints all over. It's just harder to clean in my world. And one of the trends that's happening this year is to go for more of a rich color palette. That would include some of the jewel tones, like going back to the mustard yellow and the deep dark slate blues and deep reds and orange and just really saturated colors, sealing all the way through the walls to the ground. If you're doing that to sell, please don't. Stick with neutral. It's okay if you have a room or two that is saturated with color. Like I had a seller last year, beautiful home, and in his study, he picked that deep blue slate, and it was gorgeous. It looked very executive style, and it's okay for just one room. But it's not okay for the key rooms, which include the kitchen, the living room, the master. I wouldn't go too crazy with colors in those rooms because that's all it takes for a buyer to go, oh, it needs paint, forget it. I'm not going to go look at that home, right? They don't want to do any work. They want to move in and drop their stuff and get on with their lives. So you have to create at least that play for them. So some of the kind of light creams or even taupey colors are very on trend, but neutrals always work. Another trend that's coming right now is kind of what I call Americana. Some designer called Nancy Myers calls this aesthetic leaning into the English. So again, just sort of a really light, almost white cream color with some splashes of blues, but some nice brown flooring and furniture. So, at the end of the day, what you need to do when you get your home ready for sale, the key things that must be done, number one, are declutter. A lot of people live with a lot more stuff, I do, than the way I would put this home on the market. That doesn't mean you have to make it, terribly generic. Like you don't have to take all your family pictures down. But most people have extra stuff, right? And so that's part of our services is that we bring in an interior designer by trade that really knows what it takes to make a buyer say yes to your home. And so she'll take a look at the room and she will give you a checklist, room by room by room. With this room, do that. With that room, do that. All these things for photo day. Almost every home I go into, they're going to have a lot of stuff on the counters in the kitchen, right? That's normal. That's natural, right? That's what normal life is. You use the space. But when you're selling a home, you don't want the counter full of, all your knives and your toaster and your espresso machine and just all these different things on the counter because it looks cluttered and the buyers sometimes can't see past it. Another trend that's in right now is kind of introducing texture. So shapes and maybe things like beadboard and all that. But again, if you're selling, I would not invest in the money to do it. Anything other than flooring and neutralizing paint, I don't think I would go to a full-on remodel to make it happen because you probably won't get the money out of it. And I've heard plenty of stories of how the seller went to all the trouble to replace something and then it got pulled out by the new buyer, which is depressing. But the good news is that the buyer bought the house, right? So they can see that palette, right? I'll give you an example. We had a home up in North County in Monument, and they had some dramatic cabinet colors, really pretty cabinets, kind of a darker cabinet with a green counter. It was beautiful, okay? But she's like, well, should we do like everybody else and paint your cabinets white? No, no, somebody's going to love it. Don't worry about it. But make sure that things that need to be fixed are fixed, like freshen the paint, freshen the carpet. Because flooring is something that's a lot tougher to replace when you're thinking of moving into a home. You're not going to want to move in if you're thinking, oh, before I move, I got to replace the carpet, and it's just a pain. So I would definitely neutralize the flooring as best you can. That will help you win. And this is one of the services that we provide to our sellers. Many, many call and ask, hey, what do we need to do? Should we move out of the home before we show it? And that's an option, and I have tips for you to do that. Or should we not move out of the home? One gentleman said to me on the radio, or I'm sorry, one gentleman said to me on the phone, he goes, yeah, well, should we move out? Because I have a feral teenager living in our home and a dog. I said, no, you don't have to worry about it. It just has to look good for, the initial showings and we'll get it under contract very quickly. And our interior designer helps you get there. So we, as part of our services, take a look at the home, give you tips on what to do, what not to do. Should you decide to work with us, we bring in an outside vendor. We pay for this interior designer to actually give you a very detailed checklist on how to get it right for picture day. You can put things back afterwards. They're not going to remember. And then we'll also give you a realistic price range of what your home will sell for. And we show up with offers. So we've got all these choices and a great team to make it happen. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are some things that home sellers should avoid in design style when they're putting their homes on the market?
Certain things don't photograph really well, like real heavy prints, really heavy window coverings. Like this picture I'm showing you, I bought these as staging pieces from a consignment store, and I like these chairs. But my stager was like, "Oh my God, you did not buy those, did you?" And I'm like, "Well, I like them." She waited till I was out of town and she took them back to the consignment store and resold them again. And I didn't know. And then all of a sudden I get a check. I'm like, I bet I know what these are for because it's just too much drama in a picture. Neutrals are always best. Be very, very careful with red. Any version of red actually turns kind of fuchsia on the camera. It's a very strong color. It jumps off the page and it makes the buyers not even see the rest of the room. So be careful with doing that. Also, vacant rooms don't photograph well. Um, it's hard for the buyers to see the size of the room. It's hard for the buyers to visualize how they're going to put furniture in the room. Now, our solution for that is we virtually stage rooms, and it looks very realistic. And it is something that gets the buyers to come. Don't worry about when they come and show. It's fine. They've already seen what it can look like. And now we're just confirming it with the showing. But they just don't look good empty. And it takes longer for those homes to sell. If you are going to do an empty strategy, we have a solution for you. Don't worry about that. And of course, clutter is never your friend. It takes a lot of work to get rid of clutter. What I recommend is that you take it one room at a time because it can be overwhelming as a project itself. And typically we don't photograph the inside of garages or the inside of closets. So that is your happy space to put things away if you decide you want to keep them. But I definitely would take it one room at a time. It's a very minimalist look as far as the best photos that show up online. And it takes some time to do it, but you have to eat that elephant one bite at a time. Okay, and clutter, like in the bathrooms, take all your soaps and lotions and potions off the tub, off the counter. We don't need to see the baby toilet. We don't need to see your little scrubby sponge, all that stuff has to go away for the photos, but you do want the shower curtain pulled back because if you don't have the shower curtain pulled back, people are going to assume that there's mold back there. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. Faux paint went out of style. I'm sorry, but it's not a thing anymore. Some of the faux I've seen are almost invisible, like it's not really strong. But that was a trend that came and went in the early 2000s. And now it's just not popular. It actually makes the home look dated. So if you can neutralize that paint, it's best. Oak cabinets are also, a lot of people are painting their oak cabinets white, especially if they have a contrasting color on the counters. Um, the light fixtures that are like the built-in light fixtures in the ceiling are also out of style as well. I'm not saying you have to paint your cabinets necessarily. Sometimes you can just dress it up with hardware. That would be enough to make it look good. But, if it's a smaller kitchen or a smaller space, it may look better painted. It's a certain kind of paint. It's a gel style paint that you use. But in general, buyers typically don't want remodel projects. So you want the buyer to fall in love with it online first and then just confirm it when they come and look at the home. And sometimes it's just little things like light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, door hardware, updating appliances and flooring. Sometimes that's enough to get top dollar. You really don't have to do full-on remodels. I've sold homes with pink bathrooms and everything else. So don't worry too much about that. We will help you get there. And all you need to do is give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking with you about the best solution to avoid a foreclosure. Plus, we'll talk about your hot new listings. Stay tuned for that.